Hello, everyone. Welcome to Re-Examination with Hunter Baker. So, welcome to camp, comrades. Today we're going to re-examine some basic definitions. Alright, so it's been 6 years since Bernie Sanders stepped into the world stage back in the 2015 Democratic primary and brought the word socialism back into the national conversation. A term that was once propagandized by conservatives during the Red Scare has been shaking off its Cold War era shackles and has been converting your kids into communism, where they become gay and do drugs and other crimes. Obviously, that is a joke. Um, take that with a grain of salt. So, Bernie Sanders is a politician, and he's been on Capitol Hill for 30 years. He might have been more radical in his younger days, but now fights for policies like universal health care, fighting climate change, expanding public education, pre K through college, making sure people have jobs, and taxing the rich to pay for it all. Super extreme there, radical lefty. Um, Bernie isn't a socialist or a communist, or at least he doesn't make policies that represent those views. He calls himself a social democrat or a democratic socialist. More on that in a later episode. So, what is socialism? It's when the government does stuff, right? Socialism is a socio-economic system in which the workers are empowered through various means, such as the ownership of the means of production and democracy in the workplace. The means of production are the workspace, the tools, the factories, and the capital, the money to continue or start operations. So all of that is the means of productions, and so much more stuff than that, obviously. The means of production are usually owned by a single individual in smaller companies, or in larger companies, the shareholders. These people who often never contributed their labor into the company. Um, so there are different kinds of socialism. All right, so it's not just one big monolith. Um, some versions adhere to markets and compete, and some don't. The more democratic socialist, social democracy types are going to be more market based. Um, some versions put the ownership of the means into the hands of the workers directly. So workers would be running their companies, um, and it would just be a very democratic workplace in the entirety of the productive sphere of the nation. Um, Other times, um, the means of production are held in the hands of the government in the name of all of its citizens. So the state would own the means of production, and the citizens would be in control of it through the government. Ultimately, it is a system which de incentivizes profits as the primary reason for productivity, and earning money as the primary reason to live. Socialism is usually paired with a robust civil rights um, score of laws and a strong social safety net for its poorest citizens. So that's a bit about socialism. It's not quite. I mean, the government's doing stuff, but it's not everything that the government does is going to be socialism. Socialism is a lot more focused on labor and the workplace and the means of production. Keep that in mind. So let's talk about communism. So communism is where people have to get vaccines, right? Once again, that was a joke. So communism is socialism sort of married with anarchy, which we can talk about later. No country was able to get past the socialism stage in its development. Uh, so communism was the goal, not what was being practiced ever. Um, the end goal of communism is public ownership over the means of production. We talked about that earlier. The absence of social classes, which is new, the absence of money, which is new, and eventually the absence of a state, which is why there is a strong aspect of anarchism in communism. So communist countries largely practiced state capitalism through a planned command economy. As communist states relied heavily on the government, none of them were communist even by their own definitions. There's always something that they were working towards. So communism would maintain many core aspects of socialism, such as de-incentivized profits and collective ownership and care for its citizens. Um, so it's a bit of definition there. I wanted to talk about those two first, since here we are, 2021, 6 years out from the beginning of Bernie Sanders, and we are still dealing with conservatives trying to say anything and everything that they don't like is socialism and communism, when that's just laughably not true. So, yep, this has been Reexamination, Episode 1. See you next time, comrades.